So I was kind of thinking about this, and I was thinking about like how do you keep the body healthy? And the conclusion I've come to is, well, you have to maintain, you know, proper practices to cleanse your body of impurities, and impurities take many forms. It's not just toxins from what you're consuming, but your body also produces some toxins that maybe build up and don't get purged properly. And then you also have toxins that aren't in the physical, they're in the mental, right? So you get like, or you have emotional or mental toxins. There's certain feelings that build up and cause you problems and lead to an unhealthy body, right? And then there's also certain thoughts that can lead to an unhealthy body, and there's certain actions even that can lead to an unhealthy body, right? So the feelings are, so there's the physical, which is the body, then there's feelings, which is the emotions, right? The emotional body, the spiritual body, the mental body with thoughts, and spiritual body with actions. And so when you do bad things, it builds up a certain basically toxin in your body that proper practices can help to alleviate when this occurs, and then help you to not repeat them, right? You know, an alcoholic should just stop drinking alcohol, right? But sometimes it's easier said than done. And so, anyway, going into how to cleanse impurities slash toxins, I have some. So these are some of the things that I thought about that help a lot, and then I listed out what they help with cleansing. So I put sleep, which helps cleanse the body, mind, and soul. So good sleep is very beneficial for a reason, because when you sleep, it allows your body to heal, it allows your mind to rest, and it allows you to dream, which helps your soul express and expand when you experience different things and you bring that into your consciousness. That can be beneficial. So that's why sleep is so good for the body. Hydration, I put for the body. Potentially could help with other things, but I focused on the body with that one. Staying hydrated is very important. The reality is that a healthy body and a healthy mind are they work together, right? So a person that exercises regularly typically has a healthier body and a healthier mind. But there's excess, right? Someone that over exercises has an unhealthy body because their body is depleted of nutrients because they're constantly overworking themselves, and their body is overstressed. So their body's not healthy. And as a result, their mind is also not healthy, right? Because their mind is clearly, got something going on that they're trying to avoid, or either they're trying to work through it, but they're not doing a good job, or they're just trying to avoid it outright. And that is why they focus so heavily on, their bodies, because their mind is not healthy. This is like gym bros and stuff like that they're constantly looking at their bodies and their gains and stuff, and they're saying, oh, look how fit I am, look at my muscles, right? A healthy body is not a jacked body. There is a balance. A healthy body is fit, but it's not, in excess. Because the reality is that in order to maintain that physique, you need to have a specific diet that is not sustainable without the modern age. And I feel like that is something important to consider. Maybe if this requires you to have, I don't know, I don't eat meat, so I don't know what kind of protein, like how many grams of protein every day you're trying to have. But if you need like, I don't know, 40 grams of protein a lot of protein? I don't know. If you need like 40 grams of protein a day to maintain your muscle, how are you, like, who could possibly sustain that without the modern day, right? Are you hunting that many animals? And the answer is no, because it's not necessary. That if you have excess muscle, your body is also unhealthy, in my opinion. That's my opinion though. So maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Right. Anyway, I got distracted. We'll come back to exercise. I kind of hopped into it early, but good food is also good for the body for the same reasons. Keeping your body hydrated helps you, bring in nutrients and also get rid of, like, flush out toxins. And eating good food helps you bring in nutrients and helps you to purge out toxins as well, because when something's coming in, it helps you to push stuff out, right? And so having, good food coming in at a regular interval, basically, is the best. Like, you don't need to be eating constantly, right? But like, when you do eat, it's quality. That's what's important. The quality of the food is the most important part. But obviously, you don't want to be starving yourself either. I don't think that fasting is as spiritually, powerful as everyone makes it out to be. I don't think that there is anything truly beneficial to it. It's more of like a mental challenge. That's really all it is. But I feel like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I've never felt the desire to starve myself to attain enlightenment. I feel like that just sounds absurd. So I'm really not a fan of it, but apparently people say it has health benefits. I think just eat less, have like, you don't need to fast, but just reduce how much you eat. Have one, if you eat 3 meals a day, have 2. If you eat 2 meals a day, do 1 and a snack or something like that. I think that would be sufficient. I think the whole point is that they say that at one point, you didn't eat every day. It wasn't normal to eat every day because you had to hunt for your food and gather, so you ate less. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that you probably weren't eating protein every day, but it's hunting and gathering, right? So you were probably still eating something on a daily basis. You weren't just flat out starving every day. I feel like that's unlikely. Not saying that that we're not capable of doing it, but I do think that there's a reason why it's the threes, right? It's 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water. I don't know. I guess it is like, what is it? What do they say? 3 weeks without food? Is that right? I feel like, yeah, it's 3 weeks, but realistically, like the last 2 weeks are probably going to be, you're not dead, but you're barely alive. So I don't know about that. But I think there's what I'm trying. I kind of discredit myself with that. But that's just what it is. So, but I truly don't believe that we're meant to be fasting, for days on end. Maybe for a day you could do a fast, but like multiple day fasts, I'm not so sure about. And I don't think that helps to cleanse the body, because if there's nothing coming in, then there's less reason for anything to go out. So I don't know about that, right? But, that's just me. I'm no health specialist. I don't know anything about this. So, anyway, hydration, good food, exercise, as I said, that is for the body and mind. But as I said, while it can be good to strengthen the mind, because keeping a consistent workout routine that is building strength, but not, overexerting yourself to an extreme, is healthy, right? And if you're overexerting yourself constantly and then you cause yourself to get hurt or, something like that, then that's, a potentially mental problem as well that you need to tackle there. And so there's a balance to it, right? And anything in excess is going to be a problem, right? Too much sleep is a problem. Too much hydration is a problem. Too much food is a problem, right? All of these things, if they're done in excess, are going to be a problem. So done too little or too much, they're bad. But when kept in balance, when done properly, these things are beneficial. And so I also put here, so those we started with basically the body. Now we're going to go into some mind things. So I also put on here critical thought, truly thinking about things, about why they are and how that works and stuff like that. Doing these mental exercises and truly using your brain and thinking helps to cleanse, bad thoughts and illogical arguments and fallacies in your beliefs and things like that. So these are all toxins in the mind, in my opinion. And so exercising your critical thought trains your brain, strengthens your brain, and helps to remove these, as I would call them, ignorant thoughts. We also have, I put natural immersion, which is good for the mind and soul. And what I mean by that is just being outside, being in nature, I think is a great way to relax, and it puts your mind at ease a little bit. And if you're a person that can't go out in nature and it puts you on edge and stuff that's a problem, in my opinion. That's a problem, right? You need to think about why that is and try and, work on that. I don't think that you should fear nature, and if you're afraid of wild animals or if you're afraid of bugs or something like that, you don't have to go into the woods to be outside, right? Just going to a park is sufficient, right? Just going for a walk down the street or something is sufficient. And so that's my opinion on that. I put mindfulness on here. So this is being present, being conscious of your own thoughts, being conscious of... That car sounds terrible. I don't know if you can hear that, but that car sounds terrible. Mindfulness is an important thing for the mind and soul, because being conscious of your thoughts and being aware of yourself and what you're doing, why you're doing it, what your actions are, why you're acting that way, what you're feeling, why you're feeling that. These are all things to be thinking about and, considering, because when you're aware of them, it helps you to be like, oh, why am I like that? That's not right. Why am I acting like this? This is not normal for me, right? What's wrong, right? What's wrong? And it helps you to kind of address situations as they arise, rather than letting them fester in the unconscious and become more and more volatile. Moving on, I have creation and expression. So this is like art and things along those lines. So that's good for the mind, soul, and I put the universe here, because when you express yourself and you make art, that not only benefits you and helps, clear your mind and put your mind at ease, and also allow your soul to express itself, but it also allows other people to experience and potentially grow from your expression or your creation. And that helps the entire universe, because by helping other people, they then can turn around and help other people, and this is a chain of, good things. I put here as like a flip side of this, artistic observation is good for the mind and soul, because as I said, when an artist makes art, then there's the people that observe the art, and I think it's important to expose yourself to forms of art, because keeping yourself inside your own little bubble leads to, potential hazards, right? Potential toxins building up because you don't have any outside perspectives. And so by getting outside perspectives, by seeing the world from a different point of view, it allows you to realign yourself and remove things that maybe you realized, oh, maybe I was thinking about that wrong. Or, that makes more sense, things like that. I don't know. I then put teaching, which is good for the mind, soul, and universe. Again, because when you help another person, they can then help other people, which can then help other people, and so on and so forth. So that's the benefit to the universe. Helps your soul because your soul is expressing itself and, helping other people, and it eases your mind because, and also trains your mind because as you're teaching people, you're also learning from the process. And so when you're teaching people, it helps you realize how to teach better and maybe where your teaching is lacking, and potentially find issues with your teaching and your understanding. You may be like, oh, I actually didn't understand this as well as I thought I did, and you can readdress those problems. And then I put spiritual practice, which is good for the soul and universe, because when you're practicing spiritual practice, it puts you into an alignment where, you realize that your actions impact the world, they impact other people, they impact, as I said, the universe. And so even though it seems ridiculous to think that you matter in the sense that every action makes a difference, when you look at how connected everything truly is, you realize that you really do matter, and your actions and your interactions really do make a difference, because the way you treat a person affects how they treat a person, which affects how they treat a person, right? So if there's a lot of negativity around, a lot of negativity is going to spread, right? But if there's a lot of positivity around, a lot of positivity will spread. And it's just a matter of mindset. And so when you do spiritual practice, this is good for yourself, but it also benefits other people around you, because when you're doing it in a non-superficial way, but in a more genuine and truly, genuine manner, it's not, I am all love and light and this is, everything is peace. No, you don't need to be like that, right? That's superficial, right? That's unnecessary. You don't need to tell everyone how love and light you are. They'll figure that out when they're around you, right? If your actions say otherwise, they're gonna know, right? People can tell when you're lying, right? They can tell when you're not being truthful. They can tell when it's a facade. And so it's not about being necessarily this love and light and peace and everything is, sunshine and rainbows, but it's showing compassion, it's showing empathy, it's being generous, but also it's not giving in excess. It's not letting people just trample over you, right? That's an imbalance. Again, as I said when I was talking earlier, everything in excess is a problem as well, right? Anything, if a lack or excess, it's a problem, right? So being this is just basically everything, but being generous is good, but overly generous is not good, and being stingy and not generous is also not good, right? So there's a balance where you're willing to help and give to people, but you don't give everything you have, because if you give everything you have, then how do you sustain yourself, right? If you give everything away, then you can no longer give anything to anyone. If you give a part of what you have to someone and then, regain what you gave, then you can continually give that away to people for the rest of your life, right? But if you give away everything all at once, then you have nothing to give anymore. And so it is, I think there's a verse in the Tao Te Ching that talks about being economical. And what this is basically meaning is this whole generosity thing, which is, honestly, I didn't put it down here as like a thing, but it's just I think it just kind of falls under the spiritual practice umbrella. And so being economical is, it's not hoarding everything and spending nothing, but it's also not giving it all away, right? It's building up, resources or something so that you can feed other people, right? It's not, being a fisherman and then giving away all of your fish, right? Because then you'll starve. It's not being a fisherman and hoarding all your fish and making everyone pay you for it, right? It's, being a fisherman and making sure you have enough fish for yourself and then giving away what's left to other people. But it's much more effective as a fisherman to teach people to fish than to give them fish, right? And so if you look at it from another perspective, being a gardener, it's much more effective to teach people to garden and give them seeds rather than constantly give them a portion of your harvest. Because if you keep giving them a portion of your harvest, then you will never have more food. You will only have less food. But if you give them a portion of your seeds and show them how to garden, then every year you will continue to have more and more food as you share your seeds with more people and they learn how to grow for themselves. And so generosity is not self-sacrifice necessarily. It is giving in a manner that benefits both parties, I would say. Potentially one more than the other. It doesn't always need to be an even trade necessarily. Is the other gardener or the fisherman really benefiting from teaching someone how to fish? Yes and no, right? Because in theory, the fisherman knows how to fish. They'll feed themselves for the rest of their lives. So it doesn't matter that this other person knows how to fish. But that other person that knows how to fish can either help teach the next person how to fish so that they don't have to, or is there and can potentially provide a fish when needed. And so, I don't know, I feel like I've said this on multiple occasions, but it really I feel like that is a better world view to have. It is a better outlook on life to see the world from, a perspective that is kind, but like reasonable, right? Yeah. Anyway, I kind of got off topic, I think. I kind of went in different directions here, but the point is that keeping your body healthy, keeping your, emotional body healthy, keeping your mind healthy, keeping your soul healthy helps the world, right? And this isn't something that requires a lot of effort. You can do most of these things passively by just living your life. A lot of people, I feel, suffer from what I would call sloth and a lack of will, which is, as I would say, a mental toxin, right? This is These are mental problems that you need to work through, right? A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to cook because cooking takes a while and I don't know how to do it and it's hard work. It's really not. It's pretty easy to cook your own food if you wanted to. You're just being lazy, right? And, you know, a lot of people spend a lot of time going home and binging TV shows. So it's not that people don't have time, it's just that they tell themselves they don't have time. And, that's fine. But just be aware of that. Just be aware that you're making excuses and you don't actually have reasons. Everyone's got different circumstances. You don't need to do all of these things, but you should try and do as many as possible, I think. If you're not capable of eating healthier, drinking a good amount of water each day because of where you live in the world, then you should at least try and get good sleep and, do some of these other practices on here, because they will benefit you. And, do the best you can, I think is a good place to start. And I think that with time, you'll find that you can do better. You just didn't know. But, that's just my perspective, so take it as you will. Anyway, peace out.